We are Rogue Media Sports.
That's another first down, brought to you by BAM Remodeling. From concept to completion, BAM delivers quality craftsmanship and stunning results. Whether it's a bold kitchen update or a full home makeover, BAM is here to help. Give your home the upgrade it deserves. Call 254-716-9987 or visit remodelwithbam.com. That's remodelwithbam.com. BAM Remodeling. Dream big. Remodel better.
Welcome to the recap of the week for the high school football. Looking at around the district, around the area right here in Central Texas. We're going to start with 6A, with our 6A district from last week. Last week we had the Midway Panthers going to the Killeen Kangaroos at Leo Buckley Stadium in Killeen. And the Midway Panthers won 49-26. The Killeen Shoemaker Grey Wolves went to Coppers Cove Bulldogs, and the Coppers Cove Bulldogs won that 30-27. And then we had the Temple Wildcats going down to Branden, and the Temple Wildcats came back to Temple with a 31-14 victory. Looking into this week, we had the Bryan Vikings coming out to Hewitt to Midway Panther Stadium, and then we had the Killeen Harker Heights Knights going to Killeen Shoemaker. And then we had the Coppers Cove Bulldogs headed to the Temple Wildcats. Just looking at the standings in that district with 2 weeks to play, the Harker Heights Knights are leading the district with a 4-0 record, 6-2 overall record. The Coppers Cove Bulldogs are in second place with a 3-1 district record, 6-2 overall. The Midway Panthers are 3-1 in the district with a 7-1 overall record. The Shoemaker Grey Wolves are fourth in that district, 3-2, 7-2 overall. And then you got the Temple Wildcats, who are 2-2 in district, 6-2 overall. And the Bryan Vikings, who are 0-4, 0-8 overall. And then you had the Killeen Kangaroos, who are 0-5, 0-9 overall. So we got looking for this week, you got the Harker Heights Knights, who are going to play the Grey Wolves. So we got a battle there. That's a pretty good top. Got Killeen number 1 versus number 4 so far in that district. Then you have Cove going to Temple. That's for second and fifth in that district. And then you have Midway, who's going to be playing against the Vikings. That's third and fifth in that district, or sixth in that district. Then you had the Kangaroos, who are last. They are idle this week. All right, let's go look at 5A Division 2. Let's see what that district has Waco High in it. Looking back to last week, with that, we know Waco High and University played. And the final on that one was the University Trojans all over the Waco High Lions with a score of 36-7. The Killeen Ellison Eagles went down to Brenham and played them, and the Brenham Cubs ended up winning 33-25. And then the Bryan Rudder Rangers ended up coming down here to Belton and won 35-0. And let's look into this week. This week, Waco High will be traveling to Belton. The Ellison Eagles will be traveling to Bryan Rudder. And the Brenham Cubs will be making another trip down here to Waco ISD Stadium to play the University Trojans. And let's look at standings in that district. So far, with 2 weeks to play, the Brenham Cubs are leading the district with a 3-0 record in the district, 8-0 overall. The Waco University Trojans are also 3-0 in that district, 5-3 overall. The Belton Tigers are 2-1, 4-4 in the district. The Ellison Eagles are 1-2 in the district, 3-5 overall. And the Bryan Rudder Rangers, 0-3 in the district, 1-7 overall. Then you had the Waco High Lions, who are 0-3, 0-8 overall. And it looks like, looking into this week for that district, looks like the Brenham Cubs and the University Trojans are going to play for the district title this week, it looks like. They're kind of real close. That ought to be a good game on Friday night. If you're looking for a game to go watch, head to Waco ISD Stadium for the district championship right there in the 5A Division 1 District 10. All right, let's look at this 4A Division 2 district, and that's District 12. And that district composes of Waco La Vega, Conley Cadets, the Gatesville Hornets, Robinson Rockets, the China Spring Cougars, and the Lorena Leopards. Looking back at this past week, you had the Robinson Rockets traveling out to Belmead to go play the La Vega Pirates, in which that game was moved to last Thursday night. And the La Vega Pirates ended up winning that one, 31-27. I got to say, I did actually make that game for a little bit, and it was a pretty good game. And then you had the Lorena Leopards traveling over to Lacey Lakeview to play the Conley Cadets, in which the Lorena Leopards ended up winning 27-21. And you had the China Spring Cougars traveling out about 45 minutes out west to Gatesville, in which the Gatesville Hornets won 27-7. And let's look into this week. I believe we have the La Vega Pirates. They're going to be traveling to just about 5-10 minutes down the road to Lacey Lakeview to play the Conley Cadets. You had the Gatesville Hornets coming over to Robinson, and the China Spring Cougars will be traveling to Lorena. And let's look at that district so far. And when we got 2 weeks to play, it looks like the La Vega Pirates are 3-0, have a perfect 3-0 record with 6-2 overall. The Gatesville Hornets are 2-1 in that district, 7-1 overall. The Robinson Rockets are 2-1 in the district, 6-2. The China Spring Cougars are 1-2, 2-6 overall. The Lorena Leopards are 1-2, 3-5 overall. And then you had the Conley Cadets, who are 0-3 in the district and 2-6 overall. And looking ahead for this week, looks like you got second and third battling between the Hornets, and the Rockets going to battle for second and third. And then you had the China Spring Cougars and the Lorena Leopards battling for fourth and fifth in that district. And by the way, you can watch the China Spring Cougars play Friday night in Lorena right here on Rogue Media, starting at 7 o'clock. But hopefully the Cougars will end up pulling out, which you can watch. You can watch all the China Spring Cougar football games the next couple weeks, the 2 weeks that you want. You can watch them on Rogue Media, starting at 7 o'clock with JB Dominguez and Morgan Helmsley. All right, let's go look at 3A Division 1. And this has the West Trojans in this district. Let's find that district, and then let's see. Here we go. We got West. This past week, we had the Whitney Wildcats traveling over to Mejia, which that game was on last Thursday night. And the Whitney Wildcats went out to Mejia and won 59-25. The West Trojans traveled out to Limestone County to play the Grossbeck Goats, and the West Trojans came back with a 49-6 win. And then you had the Grandview Zebras traveling out to Maypearl to play, and then that final on that one was 51-23. And let's look at this coming weekend. We have the Grossbeck Goats traveling over to Whitney, and we had the Mejia Blackcats traveling to Maypearl. And the West Trojans are going to be traveling up to Grandview. And let's look at the district another with 2 weeks to play. This one looks like the West Trojans are undefeated in district, 3-0, 7-1 overall. You had the Whitney Wildcats, who are 3-0 in district, 6-2 overall in second place. The Grandview Zebras, who are 2-1 in district, 6-2 overall. Then you had the Mejia Blackcats, who are 1-2, 1-7 overall. Then the Grossbeck Goats, who are 0-3 in district, 2-6 overall. And the Maypearl Panthers, who are 0-3, 2-6 overall. So it looks like right now West and Whitney are your front runners for that one, for that district. And let's look over here at 3A Division 2. We had the Clifton Cubs in this district. The Clifton Cubs from last week in that district. This is 3A Division 2. It's District 5. Last week we had the Clifton Cubs, who traveled to Tolar and won 22-13. You had the Dublin Lions versus the Eastland Mavericks, which was 57-7. Then you had the Brady Bulldogs and the Early Longhorns, and the Bulldogs of Brady ended up winning 17-14. 15. Go ahead and look at this week, right here, week 10. It's hard to believe we are in week 10. Only one more week to go before the playoffs start after this week. All right, looks like Clifton will be traveling out to Dublin to play Friday night. The Tolar Rattlers will be playing the Brady Bulldogs, and the Early Longhorns will be playing Eastland. And let's look at this district. So far, the Brady Bulldogs are on top, 3-0 in the district, 6-2 overall. The Clifton Cubs are right there at 2-1 in second place, 6-2. The Early Longhorns are 2-1, 3-5. Dublin Lions are 1-2, 1-7 overall, and the Tolar Panthers are 1-2, 3-5, and Eastland Mavericks are winless on the season so far. All right, let's go look at 2A Division 1. This one we had the Hamilton Bulldogs in this district. Let's look at last week, week 9, and it looks like De Leon, the Bearcats of De Leon, played the Bollinger Bearcats. So it's a battle of the Bearcats there. Bearcats probably did win. The De Leon Bearcats won 66-14. The Hamilton Bulldogs went out to Bings and played the Dragons, and they won. The Bulldogs won 47-20. And then you had Heiko traveling to Coleman, and the Heiko Tigers won 28-27. And let's look at this week. You have Bangs traveling to De Leon, and then Ballinger will be traveling to Coleman, and Hamilton and Heiko will be playing on Friday night. And let's look at the standings here. You have De Leon at 3, sitting in the top at 3-0. Hamilton Bulldogs are also 3-0. The Bangs Dragons are 2-1. Heiko is 1-2 in the district. Ballinger is 0-3, and Coleman is 0-3. So it looks like you got second for Hamilton this week, the Bulldogs. You got the Heiko Tigers, and that's going to be for second and fourth in the district right there. And let's go look at 2A Division 1, or 2A Division 2. This one has the Mart Panthers. We got the Mart Panthers and the Chilton Pirates. And I know that there was a good game last week between the Bremont Tigers and the Chilton Pirates. And let's look at last week and see what that final was. All right, so we're looking back at 2A Division 1, District 10. 2A Division 2, District 10, we got the Hubbard Jaguars, who traveled to Frost, and the Frost Polar Bears came out on top, 63-13. You had the Meridian Yellow Jackets traveled out to Mart, where the Mart Panthers shut out the Yellow Jackets, 70-0. You had the Goldthwaite Eagles traveling to Wortham, and the Goldthwaite Eagles flew back to Goldthwaite with a 54-0 win. And the Chilton Pirates traveled out to Bremont, where the Bremont Tigers ended up winning 48-22. And let's go look at this week right here in this 2A Division 2, District 10. All right, so this week we had the Meridian Yellow Jackets traveling out to Goldthwaite. The Wortham Bulldogs will be traveling to Chilton. The Bremont Tigers will be headed to Hubbard, and Mart will be headed over to Frost. And let's look at this district. So you had the Bremont Tigers, who are 5-0 in district, 8-0 overall, undefeated so far. You have the Chilton Pirates, who are 4-1, 7-1 in the district, or 7-1 overall. You had the Frost Polar Bears, who are 3-2 in the district, 6-2 overall. You had the Goldthwaite Eagles, who are 3-2 in the district, 5-3 overall. Then you had the Mart Panthers, who are 3-2, 4-4 overall. And then you had the Yellow Jackets of Meridian, 1-4, 1-7 overall. The Wortham Bulldogs are also 1-4 in the district, 1-7 overall. And then you have the Hubbard Jaguars, who are winless in district, but 2-6 overall. So it's like you got first and last playing this week between the Bremont Tigers and the Hubbard Jaguars. Let's see, there's another district we forgot with Bosqueville and Axtell. All right, here we go. From last week, I did miss that. Sorry about that. Let's look at that district real quick. So last week we had the Dawson Bulldogs traveling out to Valley Mills, and where the Dawson Bulldogs ended up losing to the Eagles with a score of 28-14. Then we had Itasca in Rio Vista that ended up being a forfeit win for the Rio Vista Eagles. And then we're looking at Bosqueville in Italy. Bosqueville traveled to there, and the Bulldogs of Bosqueville came out with a 21-13 win. And let's look at this week. Over there in Bosqueville, Texas this week, it's going to be the Axtell Longhorns playing the Bosqueville Bulldogs. The Italy Gladiators are playing the Actually, that's actually going to be a forfeit for the Gladiators. The Gladiators are going to take the 2-0 win on that one. And then you had the Rio Vista Eagles playing the Dawson Bulldogs. And it's good. Just remember the Rio Vista Eagles are not allowed into the playoffs this year. And then the Itasca Wampus Cats are forfeiting the rest of their season due to injuries. And then it came out this past week that they were looking at the actual Longhorns, but after they reviewed it, they ended up saying that they're good to go because there was an allegation that they played an ineligible player, and it came out that they decided they weren't ineligible. Let's look at the standings in this district. So far, you got the Axtell Longhorns, who are 3-1, are 3-0 in the district, 6-1 overall. The Bosqueville Bulldogs are 3-2, 7-2. The Rio Vista Eagles are 3-0 in the district, 6-1. The Valley Mills Eagles are 3-2, 6-3 overall. Then you have the Dawson Bulldogs at 2-2, 3-5. And then you got the Italy Gladiators, who are 0-4, 1-7 in the district, or 1-7 overall. The Itasca Wampus Cats, who are 0-4 and 0-8 overall. Just looking at this week, we have the battle for first place going on this week between the Bulldogs and the Longhorns. That's going to be a pretty good matchup over there in Bosqueville, Texas, if you're looking for a game to go there. And let's look at 6-man here. Looking at 6-man Division 1. This has the Abbott Panthers in this one. Looking at 6-man Division 1, District 12. And let's see what we have here on this one from last week. You had the Penelope Wolverines and the Aquila Cougars playing, and the Aquila Cougars ended up winning 60-0. And then you had the Golson Wildcats travel just a little bit over to Abbott, in which the Abbott Panthers won 79-0. And let's look at this week. So this week we have the Coolidge Yellow Jackets are going to play the Golson Wildcats, and the Abbott Panthers are going to head out to Penelope to play the Wolverines. Let's look at standings in this. So the Aquila Cougars are 3-0 in the district, 9-0 overall. The Chester Yellow Jackets are 2-1 in the district, 5-1. The Abbott Panthers, who are sitting at 1-1, 3-4 in the district, our overall record. Then you have the Apple Springs Eagles, who are 3-4 overall, 1-1 in the district. The Coolidge Yellow Jackets are 6-2 overall, 1-1. And then you have the Golson Wildcats, who are down there at 1-5, 0-2. Well, let's look at 6-man Division 2, or Division 2. And we do not have a 6-man Division 2 one. I did forget one district. Let me go back and look at that. All right, here we go. This is 2A Division 1. I did forget some people in there. We have looking at last week, we had the Rosebud Lock Cougars travel over to Bruceville Eddy, where the Rosebud Lock Cougars came away with a 48-0 win over the Bruceville Eddy Eagles. Then we had the Crawford Pirates traveling over to Moody, and the Moody Bearcats ended up falling short, 24-6. And then we had the Marlin Bulldogs travel out to Riesel, just a little bit down to Riesel, and the Marlin Bulldogs came away with a 28-12 win. And let's look at this week in that district. All right, so this week we got the Rosebud Lock Cougars traveling over to Marlin. Then you had the Bruceville Eddy Eagles traveling to Crawford. And then you had the Bearcats of Moody traveling out to Riesel. And let's look at district standings so far with 2 weeks to play. So right now it's the Crawford Pirates sitting on top of the district with a overall record of 7-1, 3-0 in the district. The Rosebud Lock Cougars are 7-1 overall, 3-0 in the district. And then you had the Marlin Bulldogs sitting in third place, 2-6 overall, 2-1 in the district. The Moody Bearcats are 4-4 overall, 1-2 in the district. And then you have the Bruceville Eddy Eagles, who are sitting at 1-7 overall, 0-3 in the district. And the Riesel Indians are also 1-7, 0-3 in the district. All right, let's go look at it. All right, let's go look at the state standings real quick. as we get ready to wrap it up here in just a few minutes. Just looking through the 6A, we don't actually have anyone around our area that is ranked in the top 25 in 6A. We're going to look at 5A Division 1. Don't believe we have anyone in 5A Division 1 that is ranked. Division 2, we have one that is real close to us. We got the Branden Cubs that is sitting at number 6, and they, like I said, they'll be at Waco University this coming Friday night. So that's pretty going to be pretty much a district championship game right there. Just looking no more. That's just the Branden Cubs who are ranked coming in to Waco on Friday night. We're looking here at 4A Division 1. No one that's actually there. No one in our area is ranked. Let's look at 4A Division 2. I know La Vega was ranked, but let's see where they're at, where they got them at this week. So we had the La Vega Pirates, who are ranked number 6 in the state. All right, let's look at 3A Division 1 here. You got the Franklin Lions, who are ranked. They're sitting at number 1. Then you had the Fairfield Eagles, who are ranked number 6, kind of a little bit out west of us there. All right, let's look at 3A Division 2 here. Really don't have anyone around our area that is ranked in 3A Division 2. Let's look at 2A Division 1. You have the Axtell Longhorns right here. It's sitting at number 8. They moved up from number 9 from last week. And, of course, they're going to be playing the Bosqueville Bulldogs. So if you're around the Bosqueville area on this coming Friday night, go out there and check out that game. And let's look at 2A Division 2. So you got the Bremont Tigers, who are ranked number 3 in the state. They'll be playing Hubbard. And then you had the Chilton Pirates, who were ranked number 6. They ended up falling down to number 10. They'll be playing Wortham on Friday night. And let's look at 6A Division 6 or 1A 6-man Division 1. We had the Aquila Cougars, who are ranked at number 4. They won't be playing this week. And let's look at 6A or 1A Division 6-man Division 2. And we don't have anyone there. And we're going to look at private schools real quick. Anyone that's our private schools. And we don't actually have one there. So pretty much as we get ready to end the show here in just a few minutes, we want to thank you for joining me. I want to thank you for joining me right here on the Central Texas kickoff or Central Texas recap show, preview show. And like you said, a bunch of the districts are heating up with 2 weeks to play. Like I said, we'll see you again next Monday night next Monday afternoon at 3:30 for the Week 10 recap. Week 11 look up as we get ready to know who's going to go to the playoffs and who's getting ready for basketball season. Thank you once again. My name is Brandon Stone. I'll see you next Monday afternoon.
We are Rogue Media Sports.